So, what is a Walkman? If any of you are unfamiliar with what this is a Sony TPS-L2 stereo cassette player Walkman. This was really Sony's first foray into portable audio at a consumer level. Before this, there were basically cassette recorders, but those were usually in mono, and they were more for like press-related stuff, like dictation and interviews and etc. This is the first time Sony ever produced a cassette player for mass market, portable listening, personal music player, etc. And this is actually not even the only one I have. The first one I ever bought was this one. This is technically the first iteration of this. Well, it is, but it's not. Technically, the very first iteration of this was slightly different as well, whereas, pardon the tape in the cassette door, that's a common problem with the, well, not cassette door, battery door, common problem with these. On the first version, this word stereo here was painted in white, and then on the top, instead of A and B, it said guys and dolls, which you're looking at that upside down. I apologize. So it said guys and dolls. And that was really the first version. I still consider this the first version because those differences are a little minute. It had a sticker down here that said Walkman, but the name Walkman itself was not on the unit because, fun fact, Sony didn't like that name. This is actually not even the only one I have either, or these two are not the only two that I have. And the second one I ever bought was this one. So, why do I have two of these? Well, for different reasons. These are actually very hard to come by in working condition unless you get somebody who refurbished them. I personally refurbished this one myself. This one was working when I bought it. It is no longer, as is the same story with this one. This one, the motor is shot. Maybe we'll replace it one day. This one, most of the wiring is dry rotted. There's kind of no saving this one. This one is mainly my daily driver. Well, daily driver is if I listen to cassettes all the time, which really I don't. But this is the one that I use if I'm ever using a Walkman. So most of you are probably familiar with these through Guardians of the Galaxy, which is, coincidentally enough, that's how I knew about them too. But watching the movie, getting a hold of these gave me kind of an appreciation for kind of vintage audio stuff. But that's probably for another video. Today I want to talk about if you want one of these, if you're trying to be Star-Lord, or you just want one to listen to. So I'm going to take these two away farther, and we're going to focus back on this one because, again, this is the one that I use if I'm ever listening or cosplaying or whatever, because I do have a Star-Lord cosplay. It's not very robust because most of the money went here. But it's a fun thing to do, so I'm going to take you guys through and show you if you want a TPS-L2 for a Star-Lord display, cosplay, whatever. I'm going to kind of run you through what you need. So first and foremost, obviously, if you're looking for the cassette player itself, you need this. I've seen several people mod them. Well, I say mod them, more like replicate them. There's a lot of 3D print replicas of this. There's a lot of plastic mold replicas of this that you can find on Etsy. A lot of people will modify the toy that came out in 2017 with Volume 2, so on and so forth. I'm a prop enthusiast, so I had to get the real deal, which is why, again, I have 3 of them, but we're focusing on this one. If you want basic information about this, it came out in 1979. Again, it was Sony's really first foray into personal music portable music devices. Man, I am not able to speak today. Its basic functions are here. You have play, stop, fast forward, and volume controls. Ironically enough, if you are new to this and you noticed the 2 headphone jacks earlier, no, these do not control the volume for each independent headphone jack. If you were wondering, it does also not take 2 headphone inputs to work. It's not a left and right situation. It is simply 2 different headphone jacks. The idea with Sony creating the Walkman was they didn't want people to be too antisocial, so they made it possible that you could share the music with somebody else. Fun fact is why this hotline button is also a thing. What this does is you hold it down and activates a mic right here, and then when you speak into that mic, it goes through the headphone outputs and goes into both person headphones, so you can have a conversation. I think amongst these Walkmans, this hotline function was never actually used, but a lot of collectors will pay a little bit more if the hotline is still working, because if you don't know, to service these, you have to take this silver bar off. When you take the silver bar, where the microphone is housed, right here, there's wires that connect them there, and if you break them, well, then your hotline function is no longer working. This one is, thankfully, but again, I was very careful refurbishing it. I refurbished it myself. I have replaced belt drives on this. I have done resoldering for the battery compartment wires because they were dry rotted. Not as badly as this one, because this one came from Colombia on eBay, and I guess just the humidity and the salt air, this entire thing is just a mess on the inside. It worked very temporarily, and I got a few good hours listening to it, but it no longer works, and there's kind of no salvaging it. If you notice, they're also two different colors. I believe the shade of blue on all of these was slightly different, just due to the manufacturing process, or fading over time. But again, let's talk about Star-Lord. Hey guys, before we get too far into the video, I just wanted to give you guys a few quick editor's notes. First of all, I apologize for the audio quality. I had recorded separate audio for it, much like this clip here, but my Audacity crashed and I lost literally all of it. I couldn't even use like any recovery tools. It was just gone. The other thing I want to talk about is the belt clip. So if you do get a Walkman like this, especially if you're trying to cosplay as Star-Lord, you will need a belt clip, because these did not natively have one. That just wasn't something they were thinking about back then. It was more something you would put in a jacket pocket, because, you know, denim jackets in the 80s had really big pockets. So if you want to put this on your belt, you're going to need a belt clip. What I did was I fashioned my own out of, this is the backing plate for an OtterBox iPhone case. I cut it to the general shape of the back panel with a cutout for the battery compartment. I did it to maximize surface area and contact, but I don't think it really matters. I think you could just, like, basically just take this entire clip off, because it does swivel, which is kind of a nice thing. But you could probably take that entire thing off and just adhere that without the whole panel. But I did that just because I figured it would help. I'm using a command strip. It's attached with a command strip because they're cheap. They hold really well. Like, this has been on here for years. And it's super easy to remove. I'm not super gluing anything. I'm not damaging anything. In fact, this same belt clip has been on the other two Walkmans I talk about in this video. The third thing I want to talk about is the Xgozer headphones, which, for those that aren't familiar, Xgozer is a cosplay prop site. They have, like, little replicas of things. They have Star-Lord's headphones, or they're kind of meant to look like the MDR5As. I'll put a picture up here. They kind of look the part, they look enough like it, so if you're doing just a cosplay thing and you don't want to spend a whole lot of money, they totally do the job, and they do it well. They're actually not bad headphones either, surprisingly. I daily drove them for a while, until the ear cuffs just broke on me, because, again, they are plastic. They're a really brittle plastic, so they will break after a while, but for just cosplay purposes, they serve the part. And again, if you're looking for something to listen to, again, they actually sound pretty good. But other than that, those are really the only notes I had. So I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of the video, and thank you guys again for watching. If you already have one of these, you got one of these, cool. That first step is done. The other thing you will need after that is tapes to listen to on it. You can go with the mass-produced tapes that were sold when both movies came out. This is Volume 2. I have Volume 1 somewhere. It is currently damaged. Some of the tape kind of flipped upside down, which is a common problem. You can go that route. They're super easily, readily available on eBay. You can also get produced replicas, like actual replica tapes on Etsy, but they can kind of run you a bit of money. What I chose to do was source my own tapes. So here's volume 2, here's volume 1. These are TDK CDing, weird name, 2, TDK CDing 2 is the actual type of cassette, like the brand of cassette. You can tell the logo is peeking out from underneath the label, which is accurate to the promotional material. So when you look at the album cover, it is going to be these. A lot of people choose not to use these because they're chrome tape. They don't work super well with the Walkman itself because this Walkman isn't really engineered to read chrome tape that well. It can, it just doesn't work very well. But these still work, they sound great. I recorded onto both of these personally with my own hi-fi setup and using the vinyl soundtracks of the movies themselves. So they sound really good, and they look, obviously you can tell, very different than the mass-produced one. The mass-produced one does look very cheap by comparison, but these are good for daily driver tapes. If you want replicas for cosplay, that's one thing. If you want to listen to them, I would actually recommend these because these you can burn through them, and then you're like, if you wear it out, it's done, and it was cheap anyway. These, they might last you longer, but if you mess these up, if you wear them out, they're done. And they're no longer functional. And again, I'm a prop enthusiast. I like my stuff to be functional. So apart from Walkman and tapes, you also need headphones. That's where it gets tricky. Star-Lord wore a pair of Sony MDR5A headphones. These are a pair of headphones from the mid to late 1970s, if my research is correct. They are incredibly hard to come by because the plastic headband that they used is very frail, very fragile. They break easily. A lot of people just threw them away. If you can find some, they will run you a very, very, very high price. Your other option is any generic cheap 80s, well, not cheap because they won't be cheap, any generic 80s kind of retro vintage inspired headphones. I daily drove the Cost Porta Pros when I first got this Walkman. I was mainly using those for recreational listening rather than cosplay. But you can get any old pair of old Sony headphones or old Cost headphones, anything that was lightweight for the day, slap orange ear pads on it, and you're pretty much set. But if you are, again, a prop enthusiast like me, you want as close to the real deal as you can get. These are not the Sony MDR5As. These are the Sony MDR7s, which predominantly, if they'll focus, really they're the same thing. The only difference between this and the 5A is this clip here, or not clip, but this attachment point, I guess, is black instead of silver on the 5As, and there's a slight different frequency response, which warrants the existence of both pairs separately. These, again, are not cheap. They're a little more readily available than the 5As. You will see these more pop up on eBay, but they're still going to cost you a lot of money. I spent more on these than I would like to admit. But again, I'm a diehard, I'm a prop enthusiast, I just want stuff to look legit. I try my best not to use these for actual conventional listening, because not only are they rare and I don't want to break them, these are slightly damaged on the right one. The ear cup doesn't like to, well, the swivel doesn't like to stay, it likes to pop out. So again, another reason I don't really use these. Again, I daily drive a pair of Cost Porta Pros if I'm doing recreational listening, and if I am doing recreational listening, it's usually not on this. The other reason these headphones stuck to daily drive is because of this. So, fun fact, in Guardians of the Galaxy, it looks like his headphones just plug natively into the Walkman with a 3.5mm jack. That is incorrect, because both the MDR5s, and MDR5As and MDR7s use a 6.3mm jack, because they were used predominantly for hi-fi setups. They were hi-fi lightweight headphones for you to use. So if you are going to use these, you need an adapter like this, which this one kind of sucks. It was cheap on Amazon. That's really, there's not much length here either. So when it is plugged in, and you have both plugged in, like if you want to hide this big ass chunk of headphone in your pocket, it's not really feasible because if this is on your belt, this doesn't have the distance to go into your pocket. So what I've had to do is tuck it like underneath the belt, in between the belt and myself, and it's just really uncomfortable. Puts a lot of stress on both points of the connection, so it's just not favored, but it is a solution and it's there for you to use. And honestly, as far as the Walkman, that about covers it. Again, Walkman taped headphones, I can't really think of anything else that you would need if you're going for the Walkman itself. It's just, the Walkman is such a cool part of Star-Lord's character, at least it was in the first two movies. I do have the Zune as well, but that's a lot less information to go over because all you need is the Zune and the headphones. And maybe a track list if you want to get into that. But this is pretty much all you need for the Walkman if this is your setup for wanting to do a Star-Lord cosplay or whatever. The other thing I will show you is the headphones I had before, the MDR5As, are these, which are really old. Old to me. I've had these for a while. I modified them to kind of look like the MDR5As. They're really good headphones. They sound great. I'm having a time trying to get these untangled because I just pulled these out of a box. These are natively 3.5mm. The problem with also your vintage hi-fi stuff is your cords are fucking long, man. It's a natively 3.5mm. This is just an adapter. So it does just plug directly into the Walkman. I like the pop-up silver that it gives it. And again, it's got orange ear pads, stuff like that. These still technically work, but you can tell they're damaged. Because I've had these for years, and these were my daily drivers before I got the Porta Pros, which I actually got the Porta Pros to be able to stop using these. But yeah, that about covers it. If you want to pick up a Walkman, you're trying to do a Star-Lord cosplay, or you just want to listen to one, quite frankly, they are a lot of fun to listen to. I like to take them out sometimes and just wear them around and listen to music, and proof that it still works, you know. But it is a really cool thing. It was my favorite part of Star-Lord in the earlier movies. Volume 3, I don't have any resentment for getting rid of it, but it's, you know, the Walkman is just such a cool piece of Star-Lord. That's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. If you want more content like this, subscribe below. I really do like going over like prop stuff, even though technically none of these are props, they're actual functional devices. I like movie memorabilia, I like movie props, so I would like to do more content like this, just talking about what I like about the props. I might do an entirely separate video and talk about just the Walkman and why it's such a cool thing for me, and kind of the fascination with vintage audio that it sparked. But yeah, I really would like to make more videos going over prop stuff because it's just such a big thing for me. So if you guys liked it, I mean, you pretty much know the drill. Subscribe if you want, and I will see you guys in the future or in the past.